1. A golden decade begins. There was a certain magic about California in the 1,970 seconds. A kind of soft, effortless glow that you can still hear in the voices of those who lived through it. When people talk about that decade, they don't describe it with statistics or political timelines. They describe it with feelings, warm sunsets, endless possibility, music drifting from open windows, and a sense that the future was being quietly shaped right there in the sunshine. California was stepping into a new identity. The free-spirited energy of the 1,960 seconds hadn't disappeared. It had simply evolved. The idealism remained, but it mixed with ambition, creativity, and a new kind of confidence. People believed that ideas mattered, that innovation mattered, and that life itself could be shaped into something bigger and brighter. Across America, eyes turned westward. If you wanted to know what culture would look like in 10 years, you didn't look to Washington or New York, you looked to California. And for the people who lived there, the feeling of being at the forefront of something special was woven into everyday life. 2 homes designed for sunshine, community, and comfort. If you stepped into a California neighborhood in the 1,970 seconds, it didn't feel like any other place in America. Homes were designed to welcome light large windows, sliding glass doors, and breezy layouts that encouraged indoor-outdoor living. Even the colors felt sun-inspired: burnt orange, deep brown, mustard yellow, avocado green, and the familiar, unmistakable shag carpeting underfoot. Patios were like second living rooms. Families grilled outdoors in every season, children splashed in backyard pools long after sunset, and neighbors wandered between houses as if each backyard was part of one larger shared space. The smell of charcoal grills, sunscreen, and fresh-cut grass became part of the California identity. During this time, suburban expansion was rapid. Orange County transformed from actual orange groves into rows of new subdivisions that seemed to appear almost overnight. A single income could still buy a home. Middle-class families felt secure, optimistic, and proud of the futures they were building. Northern California offered its own charm, a place where creativity and technology quietly mixed with social activism. San Francisco, Berkeley, and the Peninsula carried their own flavor: intellectual, progressive, slightly rebellious, and deeply unique. 3. The car culture that defined an entire lifestyle. Cars weren't just vehicles in the 1,970 seconds. They were identity. They were freedom. They were an unspoken California language. Freeways were newer, smoother, and far less crowded than today. A drive across Los Angeles didn't require the patience it demands now. People cruised without stress, enjoying the scenery, the music on the radio, and the simple rhythm of the road. Families owned enormous American sedans and long station wagons with wood-paneled sides. Teenagers dreamed of muscle cars, machines that roared with personality. Gasoline was cheap, right up until the oil crisis of 1973 struck. Overnight, lines formed at gas stations. Californians, who had built their routines around driving, felt the impact immediately. And then, of course, came the custom van era, a uniquely California phenomenon. Vans became rolling homes, painted with murals, lined with shag carpeting, small lights, mini coolers, even waterbeds. Someone cruising up the Pacific Coast Highway in a brightly painted van wasn't just traveling. They were expressing freedom in its purest form. The Pacific Coast Highway, with cliffs on one side and endless ocean on the other, became one of the most iconic drives in America. Windows down, hair blowing in the wind, the smell of salt water drifting in moments like these became memories people never forgot. 4. The soundtrack of a generation, California's music revolution. If you want to understand the 1,970 seconds, you have to listen to them. And the music of that decade flowed straight out of California. Los Angeles was the center of the recording industry. The California sound warm, smooth, and deeply reflective dominated radios across the country. The Eagles formed in 1971 and rose to become one of the defining bands of the decade. Hotel California 1976 wasn't just a song. It became a symbol, capturing both the dream and the quiet shadows behind it. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, created in the California atmosphere and released in 1977, echoed emotion, heartbreak, and the complex relationships that defined the era. It became one of the best-selling albums of all time. Laurel Canyon, tucked quietly inside the hills of Los Angeles, became a sanctuary for creativity. Joni Mitchell, Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt. They wrote songs that felt intimate, personal, and connected to the rhythm of California life. Bands like the Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, and Bread added their own stories to the decade's soundtrack. Concerts at the Troubadour, the Roxy, and the Forum were not merely performances. They were cultural events where careers were launched and memories were made. For many, living in California meant waking up at the center of the music world, as if every new day carried the potential for a new sound, a new lyric, or a new artist who would change everything. 5. The quiet beginning of a revolution, Silicon Valley's birth. Looking back, it almost feels surreal that the technology revolution, the one that would reshape the entire world, started in such humble spaces. Not laboratories, not skyscrapers, but garages. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple Computer in a Los Altos garage. What they were building didn't look revolutionary at first glance. But when the Apple II launched in 1977, it introduced something entirely new. Personal computing technology made for everyday people. Intel was crafting microprocessors that would soon become the heart of countless devices. Atari, based in Sunnyvale, was building the foundation of the video game industry. Xerox PARC was designing futuristic concepts long before anyone realized how important they would become. Most Americans had no idea that a global transformation was beginning. But in small California garages and modest workshops, the seeds of the digital era were being planted, seeds that would eventually shape the world. 6. The film industry that shaped American imagination. While California was busy shaping music and technology, Hollywood was doing what Hollywood does best, redefining entertainment for the entire world. The 1970 seconds became one of the most influential periods in American cinema, and California was at the heart of that creative explosion. This was the era of New Hollywood, when directors broke away from old studio traditions and embraced storytelling that was bold, personal, artistic, and often unconventional. Young filmmakers challenged the rules, and in doing so, they created films that became classics. Francis Ford Coppola crafted The Godfather, a film so impactful that it reshaped cultural conversations. George Lucas released American Graffiti, a nostalgic slice of youth culture that later paved the way for Star Wars, a film that changed cinema forever. Meanwhile, Steven Spielberg delivered Jaws, a masterpiece that introduced the world to the concept of the summer blockbuster. Television also thrived. Sitcoms and dramas filmed in Los Angeles crossed the continent and entered living rooms across North America. Working in the entertainment industry became not just a dream, but a profession many Californians realistically pursued. Hollywood wasn't distant mythology, it was a real neighborhood, a real industry, a real part of everyday life for thousands. And then there was Disneyland, the jewel of Anaheim. In 1977, Space Mountain opened, capturing the futuristic optimism of the era. Families planned whole weekends around Disneyland. It wasn't casual. It was an event, a celebration, a memory in the making. 7. California's beaches, a culture of waves, sun, and freedom. Beach culture remained one of California's defining features in the 1970 seconds. But unlike the surfer-centric 1960 seconds, the beach scene evolved into something broader and even more colorful. Surfing continued to thrive, especially in places like Huntington Beach and Malibu. Early mornings often meant surfers heading toward the water with boards under their arms, ready to chase a perfect wave. But the beaches themselves began to attract a newer, wider mix of people. Venice Beach, in particular, transitioned into something unforgettable, a place where reality and creativity blended. The boardwalk buzzed with life. Artists selling handmade crafts, street performers entertaining crowds, bodybuilders lifting weights under the sun at the iconic Muscle Beach, and free-spirited individuals who shaped Venice into a vibrant, eccentric hub. Skateboarding exploded during the decade. The California drought left many backyard pools empty, and young skaters, especially the legendary Z-Boys of Santa Monica, turned these empty pools into the birthplace of modern skate culture. Their aggressive style, low stances, and fast turns revolutionized skateboarding and created a sport that still carries their influence today. Roller skating also hit its peak. Roller discos opened across Southern California, glowing with neon lights and the shine of disco balls. People spent entire evenings skating in circles, forming new friendships, and feeling the freedom of gliding across polished floors. California, in these moments, felt young, expressive, and endlessly alive. 10. A state that felt like the future. If one word defined California in the 1,970 seconds, it was possibility. This was the state where technology was being born in garages, where music captured the emotions of an entire generation, where film and entertainment reshaped how stories were told, where beaches, culture, and creativity wrapped themselves into everyday life. Millions moved to California in search of something better: work, sunshine, community, dreams. And many found it. For those who lived in the Golden State during that decade, life felt full of promise. People described the era as a time when you could breathe easier, move freely, live affordably, and believe in the future without hesitation. The sky seemed bigger, the sun seemed brighter, and the world seemed full of opportunity. California wasn't just a place to live in the 1,970 seconds. It was a feeling, one that has never been forgotten. Asterisk, asterisk. If you lived through the 1,970 seconds, what do you remember most about that time? And if you didn't, what surprised you the most about life in California during that decade? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read your memories. And if you enjoyed this nostalgic journey, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Your support helps bring more history, more stories, and more memories to life. Asterisk, asterisk.